All right, now since we've covered a lot of these fundamentals, it's a good time to interject the diagnostics session. When we say diagnostics, we mean understanding where deficiencies are in shooting, where the breakdown is, and how we remedy them. All right, it's very common, or it's unfortunately common, where we have to look at a target, and there might be a big shotgun spread target, of bullet impacts, and what do you do with that? Right? And it's difficult. It's very difficult. Sometimes there's a low left. It's like, okay, that's probably a trigger mechanic. But is it? Is it really trigger mechanics? So let's jump into this a little bit. I'm going to give you some personal anecdotes on my journey, a 1,000-mile journey of pistolcraft, and how it's helped me. All right, my diagnostics. One thing very interesting with the cert we found is the fact that that green laser, the impact laser, stays on when we fully depress it, which is unlike other systems. It tells more of a story. It's not just a moment in time, a snapshot, like a bullet hole, but there's a whole story being told, like just right in front of your eyes, right then and there. So let me demonstrate real quick. As you saw in the trigger control section, I'll turn the take up on, and I'm on my target down here. The story, you can see the story is that, look at that, I got a prep break. It's kind of slapping the trigger versus a prep break. And look at that dash. See that characteristic dash? Well, you may have heard the term milking the gun. Milking the gun is part of that co-contraction of muscles, and it's a fairly common deficiency, but that's basically what it means. And sometimes you can see it right in the pistol, but that tells the story pretty quickly. Or it could just be a straight trigger mechanic where just the nature of how they're positioning and hitting that trigger, they're pushing that, in this case for a right-handed shooter, low and to the left. They may think, well, if it's low on the left, then it's probably just a trigger mechanic deficiency. But this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because it's not always necessarily trigger mechanics. It could be, I'll say, muzzle alignment. Muzzle alignment can be either from your kinesthetic aim, your natural aiming area, or it could be from improper use of the sights. So let me demonstrate that. So the impact, as you saw before, is going to be kind of a low left impact, all right, based on that trigger mechanic deficiency. But let's take a look at this. You line up and boom, send it. I'm just off the target, right? Just down and off the target. And in this case, for this distance, I have a sight alignment deficiency. You saw the dots, right? You saw the clean dots. So you know it's not trigger mechanics, your sight alignment, or I like to say more generally, muzzle alignment. The initial muzzle alignment was not there. Reason I say muzzle alignment, because if the target is close, and we use our grip and stance to aim the gun, then it looks more like this. I'll turn the take up off. I'm a little bit closer, just a little bit closer, boom, 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 boom. All right? Or I'm off. See, I'm just a little bit off there because my grip is not tuned into what I see, and it sends it low left. Personal anecdote. My favorite training of the day, my most efficient training, is less than 12 seconds. Less than 12 seconds, soup to nuts. All right, from the setup, setting it all up, to breakdown. All right. Not only is it 12 seconds, but it's uncalibrated. It's first thing in the morning. I come over, I hit the coffee machine, all cooked up, ready to go. I have my clock about 10 yards across the living room, and I have my cert on the kitchen table. I pick up the cert, boom, send it fearlessly. Fearlessly send around in the morning, first thing, building my kinesthetic aim, or my natural aiming area, natural point of aim. But it's no longer natural because I'm building it, right? So it's my enhanced aim. So point being on that is I'm uncalibrated, which is one thing. So I can diagnose myself when I'm not warmed up. I don't believe in warm-ups. You should never warm up. There's no reason to. There's no muscular pull or any threat on that. Where are you just with an uncalibrated state with a pistol? But I'm sending the round fearlessly in the morning. Fearlessly meaning like I'm not going to take too much time. I'm going to do 300 of these sessions a year, right? And I'm going to fire it off, reference the sights, and build how good I'm going to build how good my natural aiming area is, how good I can naturally hit without a lot of reference on the sights. But what I found, this is fascinating, I was hitting low left. My grip deficiency was low left. Boom, like down here, like this. All right, and at distance, it was a bit more accentuated. So then I had to go back and get aware of my grip. But it was a dot. The laser impact was a dot. So it wasn't like this, you know, in the morning where it's a trigger mechanic deficiency. It was just a true grip deficiency. I had to calibrate my grip for what I saw, and after a few weeks, I cleaned it up and further along that 1,000-mile journey of building my natural point of aim. So, point being on that is you can diagnose yourself the issues. You can teach your students to diagnose. All right. And then you can have them leave when they buy the cert and go home and take on your follow-on classes, which we'll talk about in the next block here. They'll naturally figure this out. We have some good anecdotal evidence on how some police agencies have just given a cert to some problem shooters, and they came back qualifying in the police quals 30 points higher. So just a lot of anecdotal evidence in that direction, but we find that end users self-diagnose, self-correct, and they need their coaching. They need it. I mean, don't get me wrong there, but they're going to fix what they need to come back and take your second courses. So that's an introduction to some diagnostics. Dots, not dashes. Take a look what's going on there, and use the cert on the range. The cert is not being used on the range as effectively as it can, generally across the board, because before we start throwing rounds down and having the boom and all that, or if it goes sideways, a lot of instructors who do utilize it on the range, people get a cert and they figure out real quick what they're doing. Now, some people aren't even aiming correctly. Some people have the trigger mechanic issues, right? Or some combination of both, right? Or the flinch response. So get them back tuned in and put the live fire back in their hand, all safe practices, and continue that journey of improving their live fire performance right there on the range. Any more questions on diagnostics, please feel free to give us a shout, and very much appreciate you tying into this block. It's a big one. This is a big one. This is a big block, diagnosing and unscrewing up ourselves.